Welcome to the Accomplish More podcast, created specifically for the small business owner who doesn't think small. I'm your host, Gayla Scrivener. This show is where you'll learn practical ideas, hints, tips, and tricks to help you grow your small business where you can leverage your time and to accomplish more. Hello, I'm so glad you joined me today for the Accomplish More podcast. I'm Gayla Scrivener, and I have just gotten back from a trip to North Carolina, and I have to say that I am feeling refreshed and more motivated than ever, and that's why I thought today would be a great day to talk about the 3 reasons why getting away from your business will actually allow you to accomplish more in your business. Now, I'm sure that you've heard it before, because I know I certainly have, that we need to learn how to create more margin in our lives. When I first heard that term margin relating to my free time, quite frankly, I thought it sounded weird. But the more I think about it, the more it just makes sense. You know what a margin on a piece of paper is, right? Well, in a book or on a report, if there is a good amount of margin all around the page with that white space, it makes things easier to read. That white space of nothingness is the margin. That white space is easier on our eyes so that we can process the words on the page better. Now, if there were no margin at all and the words went from the very edge, from top, bottom, sides of the paper, the information would look overwhelming and be harder to decipher. You couldn't process it very easily. And actually, without the margin, you would tend to read slower and not be as efficient. So, as with a page, the margin on a piece of paper, we in our life need some of that white space of nothingness to get away so that we can process all the stuff that we need to do much more efficiently. When was the last time that you've gotten away? I mean, truly gotten away from your business with some quality R&R. Well, like I said, I had just gotten back from North Carolina, and actually North Carolina, Kentucky, Tennessee. My husband Robert and I had an event that we wanted to go out to. We applied and received a volunteer position at this big event called Overland Expo. And it's just kind of a cool event, let me tell you. My husband Robert and I love to camp. We love to travel, but we like to travel on roads less traveled. We don't like to be on interstates. We like the journey, and so we go on highways, byways, and dirt roads when we can get to it. We stay in our Jeep, and we have a rooftop tent. And we pack everything that we need in our little Jeep Wrangler, because the Jeep Wrangler is actually a pretty small vehicle. And we just tootle along. We haven't taken very many trips this year like we want to, because we have developed a business that we can have a work from practically anywhere lifestyle. So that even makes it doubly hard to get away, because when we're traveling, we work on the road. This trip that we were just on, and let me tell you, this Overland Expo is an event because most of our friends kind of look at us with a puzzled look. It's like, what does that mean? And actually, when we were meeting people on our trip, and they were asking us questions about our rooftop tent, because it seems to be an oddity. But Overland Expo is for people like us who like to travel across the country or internationally, either in their four-wheel drive vehicle or motorcycles. There are a lot of people that travel a heck of a lot more than what Robert and I do and have some wonderful experiences, and we've met several of them. But at this event, it is huge. There's thousands of people in attendance. There's lots of vendors. There's camping on site, and it's just fun meeting people and hearing stories and learning from everybody. And that weekend, we were doing our volunteer spot, but it was more fun than anything. It was getting away from our traditional regular work, and it got us thinking differently, and it was just pretty fun. But as far back as I can remember, I'd work long hours and try to get as much accomplished for the company that I was working for done within the time frame. I had the traditional 9 to 5 hours, but I'd work longer hours, sometimes weekends, but I would just try to get all of that done. And I've been accused of being a workaholic, but the difference now that I own my business versus working for a company is that I don't necessarily have traditional office hours. It seems harder than ever to feel like I truly have free time, because on my mind all the time is the business. At least when I was working for another company and I just left that office space, I would be able to shut off my mind a little bit about the company. And I had more compartmental time frames of when it's work time, when it's vacation time, when it's family time, and things like that. And then when we have our own businesses and our mind is always turned on to our business, not everything we do happens in the traditional 9 to 5, Monday through Friday workday. For me, I may get inspiration to do something at odd times. And actually, I tend to work on my business development at weird hours. And I'm an early riser. I may get up and start on projects even before the sun rises. And I'll even get out and do my morning walk when daylight hits, but I may have already written something up or designed something, checked my emails, or whatever was on my schedule for the day. And of course, during traditional office hours, that's when I meet with clients, have conference calls or other meetings. I'll do more of my email work or what have you, because creating boundaries, office hours, even in this being a virtual assistant and traditional office hours may not be existent, at least certain tasks should be done and have boundaries for. But then, because I get up so gosh darn early, in the evenings, my mind is pretty much toast for creativity, but I still feel like I'm in work mode. And so I'll tend to do some sort of learning through podcast, reading, or classes that I've signed up for. And so I'm still thinking about work. And it seems like I'm thinking about something to do with business all the time. And you may think, Gayla, gosh, get a life. Well, I sometimes think that too. And I tend to talk about my business, and I think that people around me are tired of hearing what's going on in my business. So I try to refrain to talk about it with everyone, because quite frankly, I have the perception that they're not interested. But the more I talk to my fellow small business owners, the more I hear that they are going through the same feelings, that their minds are never shutting off about their businesses. So I'm circling back around and asking you when you have truly had a chance to get away from your business. When in North Carolina, and actually we're in Kentucky and Tennessee and things like that, we ended up going to areas that were more remote than we had planned, where we did not have internet connection. So there were things that we could not do with our business. And that actually was a blessing, because we needed to truly disconnect and get away from our business so that we could be able to focus and accomplish more. And let me tell you, if you're a solopreneur or somebody that has just a small team, it seems harder than ever to get away. Because even if you have a small team, you may feel like you are never ahead enough on your projects to take time off. Then, if you do get away for a bit, you may allow interruptions because you have this little tinge of panic that if you don't take care of things right away, that you'll lose business. And most of the time, if you're a business of one or a business with just a few teammates, if you don't work, then income isn't generated. So that's kind of scary to truly get away. And this is pretty stressful to even think about planning to get away. Even when you think it's a good idea, you may find excuses to hold you back from going on a trip or truly turning work stuff off. And I found myself in that predicament. I know how important it is to get away and have margin and have time for yourself, or have that blank space of nothingness, so that I could accomplish more. But I got on this treadmill of I've got to work. Because as I said, I tend to be a workaholic. And I would, I guess, trick myself to say getting away, I'd still work. Well, that's ridiculous. So I'm glad that Robert and I guess you could call it not forced. Let me take that back. Robert and I were in such remote areas where we weren't connected via internet. So there were certain things that we could not do. And actually, we didn't have electricity either. And although that we have solar on our Jeep and we have extra batteries to power up our work from anywhere office, you have to be conservative, because on cloudy days, your solar doesn't work as well. And we do have a refrigerator in our Jeep, believe it or not. And so we start to prioritize a little differently on how to use the battery power and how fast things are able to charge. And I know that Robert is very good at knowing the watts, the amps, all of that. All of that stuff just flies over my head. All I know is that I ask him when I can plug in and when I can charge and how many things I can plug in and things like that. There are times, your battery on a laptop only lasts so long. Well, on a solar power, and it's a cloudy day, and so we're not generating very much or storing very much power into the batteries, he'll tell me, Kayla, you have to turn off your computer to charge, because if you're working on it and charging on it at the same time, that's like pouring water in a bucket with a hole in it, and it's not very productive. So there were times that had to just turn off the computer, and that was great. And that allowed Robert and I to just disconnect, and we took some long hikes, and then on some of the roads that we were on, we couldn't work from as we're driving down the road, obviously. So, but what I had found was, and you may feel the same way, that at first you feel a little anxious because, hey, I've got this tinge that I've got to be working. So you don't truly relax. But the more time that passes, you learn to release your mind and actually disconnect. But I wanted to go over the first reason why getting away really helps you to be productive. And that is that it motivates you to get things done before you even go. There's nothing like having a deadline to get things done. Like, for example, planning a party at your place. That motivates, for me, that motivates me to really organize and clean my house before I have people over. So I tease my husband. It's like, oh, I guess it's time to have a get-together because, the house is kind of disheveled. So I tease him with that because when there's no pressure of people coming over, then I'll just do a little bit, enough to get by. Well, we can have tasks take as little or as much time as possible when there's no deadlines attached. So when you know that you have to leave on Monday and it is Friday afternoon, you are more motivated than ever to get certain things done. And before you even close your doors to your business. And so you will assign things differently. You'll contact people. You'll make the arrangements. You'll finish that project that's been taking you forever, but you've got that deadline. You'll pre-do things. It's a wonderful feeling. And when you may feel like once you go, it's like, oh man, I didn't get everything done that I wanted to. But you need to remember how much you did get done because you prioritized of what had to be done and you just rolled up your sleeves and did it. And then the other things could wait. When you get away, the second thing that is super, super important is that you start to think differently. You have to organize things differently in your mind on who's going to take care of what when you're gone. And actually getting out of your regular routine. I know with Robert and I living out of our Jeep, it just makes us think differently, like how to power things up and prioritizing that way. And that exercise is actually really important for knowing how to communicate with my team and letting go of things that I might have traditionally done, but asking for help for those things. And that is super important because then we put our faith in our team and they come together and get things done. And when you think differently and when you let your mind go with the normal routine, you're able to plan. And even though as entrepreneurs, we are always, seems like business is on our mind, always, always, always. When you're not in the regular routine of things and you're able to release that, then you can plan. You can plan how you want your business to look. You're able to imagine differently. And planning is such an important part of any business. And when you're in the daily routine of regular work, I tend to focus on my clients' projects and the day-to-day stuff, which is good and I should be, but I don't carve out enough time for business development or for just imagining where I am today, thinking about where I am today and where I see myself. And when I try to, in my normal routine, I'll get distracted and I'll move back. I feel the tinge to, hey, I can't focus on myself. I need to focus on my my clients. Like I said, which is really good. But when you don't organize yourself, you can't serve your clients as well. As I said, business development planning is an important step in reaching your goals. So during my time off grid, I realized what things are important to me and what things I truly wanted to achieve. This gives me a clearer picture of what direction I want to go for me, both professionally and personally, because it's so intermingled. We build our business to create either a lifestyle or create, we earn our living. Now, even though I wasn't planning on taking as much time off as I have, the last couple of weeks, it was so beneficial. I have been able to let go of some stresses that I've been feeling, and I truly relaxed. And honestly, maybe I was just exhausted from hiking and setting up camp. I don't know. But yes, I did let my mind wander to my business while on the hiking trail, but somehow it was different. It was just different because I was not in my normal routine. And that brings me to my third reason why getting away really is beneficial. It aligns your priorities. You're able to align your priorities. When you have that margin and you have that nothingness, you're able to think more clearly as to what you really want to achieve and how you want to get there. You start to think, man, this feeling of getting away is good. How can I do more of this? What can I do to spend more time with my kids or spend more time with my grandkids or with my spouse, or having some alone time, or going to see certain things, or going to different events that truly make you happy, and really aligning those priorities. And you tend to do that when you're not in the normal routine or that hamster wheel, that I've got to do this, that, and the other, and are distracted. So when you're away and you've had some time to unwind a little bit, and then those priorities in your mind drifts on really what is so meaningful for you in your life. And it may be, even if something's stressing you out, like budgeting, or money seems to stress everyone out, either not enough of it or when's the income coming in. When you're able to get away and detach yourself from thinking about it in the normal way, you figure out your priorities, and then how do you fund to make those priorities a reality, get those goals going. I know Robert and I had several conversations on really what do we want to do in the next year, in the next month, in the next year, in the next 5 years, and what's really important to us. Then our conversation went toward how do we make that happen? That certainly has motivated us with our business to allow us to do the things that we really, really want to do. So even though we may not be able to turn off our minds thinking about our business, it's important to schedule quality time away. It is important to schedule that margin. And I've said it so often. I have a calendar that Robert and I share, and he always says, to other people that, if it's not in the calendar, it just doesn't get done. And because I've said that to him so frequently. But you need to schedule more than just a few hours. And I know that just in a weekend, there is time to unwind. Maybe Friday evening, you're kind of unwinding. Saturday, maybe you're, okay, that's my fun day. But then by Sunday, if you're getting ready for your work week, part of Sunday is kind of ruined because you start thinking about the work week and you are planning what you need to do for the week, and you may get a jump start on it. So getting out of your normal environment and doing something different to recharge allows your mind to wander to other things, and that is so important. Now, I have a friend that will shut down his whole business for a week or two. His employees know when it is. It's become a tradition, and he prepares he tells his customers what's going on. He has email notifications and a different phone message during that time off, because he knows he needs that away time. Now for him, he stays home for the 2 weeks. That is his break time. He doesn't go anywhere near his shop, but he is at home doing the things that make him happy, and he unwinds, and he's able to be more productive when he gets back. And I've known physicians' offices that do the same thing in smaller towns or what have you. He'll tell his patients that he's gone for the next couple of weeks. The whole office is closed. His answering service knows what to say, and if it's a true emergency, anybody should be going to the ER. But if it's not, if it's setting up appointments or what have you, that type of stuff can wait, even for a physician. Medical care, we as patients, we can go other places, but if it's a doctor that we truly like and we need to follow up with, we understand that he needs a break. We want him to have a break so he can take care of us better. We are understanding about that, and we'll just see him when he returns. Whether you love to travel and you need to truly, truly get away, or if it's getting away from your business by just staying home, because maybe you have a brick and mortar business that you go to every day. For me, being in my home, that is where my office is, so I like to really get away. So my getting away is to be as remote as possible, getting on those dirt roads, having no phone, no internet, and just camping and hiking, exploring small towns, and just experiencing different things. For me, that's my getting away, and that's how I can think differently and recharge. So knowing that what it takes, that you need to get away to accomplish more in your business, because first, it motivates you to get things done before you go. Number 2, you think differently so that you can get things taken care of when you're gone. And 3, you align your priorities so that you are set straight on where your goals are, so that when you do return, you're motivated to get more things done and work on the projects that will move the needle in your business so that you can accomplish those goals. But what I have found, and I've found myself doing this periodically, is that I'll think, okay, when I get to this certain point in my business, I'll go ahead and get away. And I'll plan all this stuff for my business and then wait for later for myself. But I don't know why our priorities get all turned upside down. What should happen, and what Robert and I have been doing for the past few years, is that we'll get our calendar out and we will plan our margin time, plan our trips way in advance. We've already taken out next year's calendar and blocked out 3 months that we have to be at certain events or we're going to be away. And then we're looking at little excursions in between there. Now, 3 months may sound like quite a bit, but there will be some times to totally disconnect. And then for us, when we work from the road, that is so, I don't know if I'd call it therapeutic, but it's enlightening, because we have to, bottom line, think differently. So if you are someone that always kind of pushes back and that you think, well, I can't get away if I do this, that, and the other before I plan something. Well, I challenge you to go ahead and get out your calendar and look at the next year. And physically, just get out an old-fashioned paper calendar and visualize for the next year. When can you really get away? And block that time off. Schedule it. And make it non-negotiable. Because even when you get closer to that time frame, and you may have that dread, it's like, oh no, I can't get away now. Turning that switch off, or turning that switch on rather, and making it a non-negotiable that you've got to go, you will start getting things done before you even go. And then you will not regret going, because you have to give yourself time away. And actually planning your next year's fun time will give you something to look forward to. You know that certain things need to get in place before you go. And so you'll start to get those types of things done. When you place that deadline on yourself, you will get things done better. That's just, instead of saying, oh, someday I'll get around to it, or someday I want to do that. Make that someday a reality, because usually when we have those terms like, well, someday I want to go there, or someday I want to do this, that someday never comes. It's when you actually schedule it, put it on your calendar that this is what's going to happen. So I challenge you, are you getting out your calendar and making your getaway plans? Remember to make them non-negotiable and give yourself quality breaks, because you'll accomplish more in everything you do. Create that margin in your life and take a moment to stop and plan for that margin. Detach yourself from your normal routine and do activities you truly, truly enjoy, because that quiet time for you can reflect and plan, You can recharge. And when you come back, you are much more motivated to accomplish the goals that you want to in your business. You're much more able to help your clients, your customers, and get those projects done. I appreciate you joining me for today and talking about what it takes to accomplish more in your business and, in your personal life, really. So, when is your next getaway? I'd love to hear from you. Feel free to email me at podcast@scrivenersolutions.com. That's podcast at SCRIVENER solutions.com. I'd love for you to subscribe to the Accomplish More podcast. And until next time, have a fantastic week.